Oh no, my Venus is in detriment, or my Venus is very weak in this sign, which means it's a terrible placement for relationships. Am I doomed in love? Let's chat about that. Hello everyone, I am Hannah. I am an evolutionary astrologer, and in this video, I want to talk to you about something that I see quite often, especially in the internet. Sometimes when people discover that they have Venus in Aries or Venus in Scorpio, or their natal Venus is making a challenging aspect in their birth chart, suddenly they're told or they start thinking that relationships are going to be very hard for them, for you. Your Venus is bad, or your Venus is weak, or this placement is so terrible. Good luck finding love. Honestly, in this video, I would really love to challenge this way of thinking and of working with astrology, and especially working with your Venus, which has everything to do with love and relationships. First of all, in evolutionary astrology, which is the approach that I practice, we don't really use astrology as a system of punishment. So we never look at a chart and say, this placement is good versus this placement over here, that's bad, and this planet is happy in this sign, but really unhappy in this other sign. That's actually a very limited way of understanding the birth chart and astrology, and even more limited way of understanding the soul. So in evolutionary astrology, Venus in every single sign, and actually we can expand this into every planet in every sign, carries an intention, carries lessons, carries gifts, including blind spots and struggles and challenges, but also potential growth gifts. And that's going to include Venus as well. In traditional astrology, you may hear that Venus is in detriment or in fall when she is in certain planets, but then she's going to be at home or exalted in other planets. For example, I believe Venus is in detriment in Aries and Scorpio, and she's very happy, supposedly very happy in Taurus, Libra, and Pisces. Now, these concepts have a very long history within traditional astrology, and I completely respect that tradition. But I do want to bring you the evolutionary astrology's point of view here and how these ideas are interpreted. Because to look at a birth chart and translate a planet in a certain sign as automatically good or bad, or Venus in this sign will have an easier love life versus this other Venus in a different sign that will struggle always. It's really not that simple. Because to say that a Venus in Taurus is somehow, for example, better than a Venus in Scorpio, or that a Venus in Pisces is superior to a Venus in Aries, that might actually miss the point entirely. Because every single Venus placement, which means Venus in every single sign, will love differently, will seek fulfillment differently, will have desires and needs and values and strengths and challenges differently, including their relationship dynamics. So, for example, let's talk about Venus and Taurus. Venus and Taurus may seek stability and sensuality and consistency and grounding, whereas a Venus in Scorpio may want intensity and emotional truth and vulnerability and passion and transformation and that soul level intimacy. And a Venus in Pisces will value spiritual connection, compassion, romance, that sense of unconditional love. A Venus in Aries will want passion and excitement and independence and that freedom to pursue what it desires. So as you can see, none of these are automatically better or superior or inferior. They're simply different experiences and expressions of Venus, different relationships path, and different lessons, different evolutionary intentions. Your love path is not supposed to look exactly like someone else's. In fact, I think part of the problem is that many of us have been sold a sort of a fairy tale version of love, right? That to have a successful relationship, that means it needs to last forever, and the perfect partner will complete us, and that compatibility would automatically mean that things are harmonious and there's always agreement and there's always peace. But we really know that relationships, especially the really long-term relationships, the ones that last a very long time, are much more complex than that. And honestly, if a relationship is peaceful and harmonious all the time, if there's never any friction, never any disagreement, never anything difficult to work through, I would actually be curious about what's not being discussed and what's not being expressed, what's being avoided, right? Because relationships are ultimately one of the greatest, if not the greatest, catalysts for growth that we have, because they're going to expose our insecurities. They're going to reveal our fears. And they're going to many times bring our wounds to the surface. And the places, really show us the places where we lack trust and where we struggle with vulnerability, where we give our power away, or sometimes where we refuse to open our hearts. And those things can be very uncomfortable, very, very, very deeply uncomfortable, but also incredibly valuable. Many of our greatest breakthroughs can happen through relationship, right? And many of our deepest, deepest healing experiences can also happen through relationships. So many of our important lessons, soul lessons, happen through our relationships. So some relationships come into our lives to provide stability and peace, but others come to challenge us. And it's usually both, right? Some relationships teach us trust, others boundaries, others teach us all about our self-worth and help us to confront fears that we've been avoiding for years. Some relationships can even teach us when to separate, when to say no more, when sometimes when we're losing ourselves or even over giving our power away. Other relationships are here to support us more unconditionally. So that's all of that to say that not every relationship is meant to look the same, right? Not every soul is here to learn the same lessons. So this is where it gets tricky when people label certain placements in the chart as automatically good or bad. Because honestly, some of these placements that you might be worried about may carry the greatest, greatest opportunities for your growth. So that actually brings me to my second point, that free will is such a powerful force. Astrology is not a prison sentence. Your chart describes your potentials, your patterns, your tendencies, your lessons. Yes, it does, but it does not remove your ability to choose. Okay, so yes, some people may experience very painful relationship patterns and a lot of heartbreak and wounds and attachment wounds and very difficult realizations and all these fated connections that can bring a lot of loss and a lot of disappointment. But those experiences are not happening because the universe hates you, because they're punishing you because your Venus is broken or defective. Not at all. It's part of the evolutionary journey of your soul because we evolve so much through relationships. We discover so much of ourselves through relationships, and we also heal through relationships. sometimes the deeper the challenge, the greater the potential for transformation. So even if you do have a more challenging Venus placement, it can produce extraordinary emotional intelligence and depth and wisdom and compassion and discernment and resilience. So the issue is not the placement itself, it's not the sign that where your Venus is at or the aspects your Venus is making. But the biggest issue is unconsciousness because two people can have the exact same Venus placement and live it in completely different ways. One may repeat a lot of the destructive patterns over and over again without really examining them, with a lot of blaming and not doing any self work and healing, where the other person may become deeply self aware and do their inner work and ultimately completely transform their relationship story. So, your free will, your personal effort, responsibility, that really makes a very, very big difference. And this is where I think astrology can become truly and so empowering because the real power of astrology is not labeling yourself and saying, I am this, I am that, but understanding yourself. So when you study your Venus placement, which means where she's at, the sign, the house, the aspects and the broader context of the chart, you gain such deep and precious information about yourself because you can really understand how you give love, how you receive love and what's in the way of that, what you value in relationships and the kinds of partners that you tend to attract and why you tend to attract those type of partners. You also can understand the emotional dynamics that keep repeating, including what you have absorbed from your own parents' relationship, their wounds, their struggles, and also the gifts, the lessons, the patterns, the attachment patterns, the desires, the fears. You can also understand your relationship strengths, but ultimately, the lessons that your soul is learning through intimacy and relationships. So that way, if we approach our Venus in that way, astrology stops being fatalistic and it becomes deeply conscious. So instead of asking, oh no, am I doomed in love? We can start asking, what am I here to learn through love? What are the doors that love and relationship and marriage and partnership can open up for me? That is a complete different conversation. And ultimately, in my opinion, no placement dooms you and no Venus sign condemns you to loneliness or failure and but do unconscious patterns absolutely can create suffering. And astrology really gives us the awareness that is necessary to recognize those patterns and to ultimately outgrow hopeless and the struggles. So, if you have a bad Venus, please, I would love for you to take a different look at her and to always remember that your chart is not a sentence, it is a map. It's a map of growth and potential and a map to your unique path of your soul is on in this lifetime. So every single placement, every Venus placement contains both the challenges and the possibilities. And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you can get all the astrological updates. And hopefully there will be many more videos of demystifying, a lot of the things that are said online about astrology. On that note, thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next video.